Hello, and welcome to Cinemondo Explores Star Trek with Kathy, Mark, and Burke. Today's episode, Court Martial.
Oh.
Dun dun.
Stardate 2947.3. And today, once again, we have our favorite special guest. Don't tell any of our other guests. Mark Maddox is with us, artist.
From the podcast.
Raconteur.
Yeah. Hey, Mark. Mm-hmm. Good to see you.
To see you too. You can just say Mark squared, and
Mark
that'll
squared.
take care of it. Yeah.
Mark 1 and
Double
Mark
M.
2, like Devo.
Yeah.
Mark 1, Mark 2.
Hey,
Mark
before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on our YouTube channel if you're watching us on YouTube.
Yeah, you got to hit that button. Mash it.
It's important.
Got to
Thank
mash
you.
that button.
Mash it.
Come on, y'all.
Mark,
I don't know
mash
why
it.
the
Mash
accent.
it. Mash it. Yes, smash it.
You
Mash
got to do it.
and smash.
But
Okay,
yeah,
so we're doing-
subscribe, and then we can make more of these.
Yeah,
Because
comment,
every time
like.
somebody subscribes, we get $10,000.
You
I'm
get
gonna start a
10,000.
podcast.
I know,
get
seriously.
10,000. You guys don't get 10,000.
Oh,
I get
Every time
25,000.
somebody likes a video, I get $10,000.
they actually take $10,000 from me.
Oh,
That's where it goes. He goes,
That's
"Where
where-
you to
so
burn."
That's where it's
that's
been
what
going.
I'm getting. Okay,
Damn
now
it.
I understand.
We're paying Burke way too much.
So we're doing court
like it.
martial. Court martial.
Mashallah.
That was
Yeah,
originally
today's
aired,
episode is Court Martial.
Yeah, originally aired February 2nd, 1967. Episode 20 of the first season.
And this is one of the best ones. This is one of the good ones, I think. It's the one that sounds kind of boring when you tell somebody about it. Maybe that it's like it's the courtroom drama episode, and some people are like, I want to see the Klingons and stuff. But this one is actually so compelling and fun, even though it's kind of based and bound to a set and it's a singular concept, and it goes from point A to point B, and you're along for this great ride,
My
Unlike
favorite ones are the small, confined to the ship kind of episodes. I always liked those. I don't know why.
And like
I just
the
like the look of
previous, like the episode that is coming up that we're going to talk about next, Return of the Archons, which has like too many things going on. This has got one through line. You're there.
Too
for
many
the-
and not enough all at the same time.
yeah. But
I also like the-
basically-
I like the ones that take place on Starbase. I think those
Yeah.
are interesting, So
and you get a little bit of like normal life too, because you see people in a bar in their normal clothes and kind of the way people dress and normal
Bar.
civilians
Bar.
hanging out in the restaurant.
And she had a very cool outfit on.
Yeah.
Start off with that.
basically the-
Wah, 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 wah.
One of those women from Kirk's past is
Yeah.
back again. Wow.
A little
And we got
Vaseline on
McCoy
the
getting all
lens.
bent about it. Like, where does he get all the grooves?
Yeah.
Jim, you
She's
need to
some
take
kind
this
of woman.
seriously. Hey, come on, baby. Let's talk for a
And McCoy saying she's a handsome woman.
Yeah.
But basically, this one is about Kirk being getting himself into trouble because there was an ion storm apparently, and I don't really know how the mechanics of this work. There's a thing called a pod, and apparently when you go through an ion storm and you want to explore or research or analyze this ion storm, you get into the pod, and somehow the pod is used during it, and it gets more and more dangerous, and you get to like a yellow alert, and then you go to a red alert, and by then you absolutely have to jettison that pod.
Red
And the
alerts are
pers-
bad.
Yeah, and so
Thank
the
you,
person who's
Kathy.
in the pod
I just want to make
needs
it clear to our viewers and our listeners that red alert's not a good thing.
you watch out when you get to
Just
red
in
alert,
case.
folks. Take it from Kathy.
Don't do it.
But what happens here is that Kirk went through the he did his duty and he did it right, and he knows he's right, that there was an ion storm. He knew that his friend was in the pod, and his friend and him have a little bit of a tricky relationship, but his friend is in the pod, and his friend gets out of the pod apparently, and he hits jettison the pod button, which is right there on the arm of his chair. But but then when he gets to the starbase and he's in this trouble, they show this video back, and it shows him hitting the button during yellow alert. And it sounds really dry and, courtroomy, but the idea is that Kirk is looking at that saying, wait a minute, I didn't do that. And Mr. Spock is basically saying, and computers don't lie, Captain, so it's Did the captain really screw up here and actually and also out of vengeance because he has a little bit of trouble with this guy, like the history that goes back, they don't get along, they had some trouble back in the academy or whatever, and the guy who was in the pod felt like he should have been the captain and all, it's that kind of a thing. So was it an act of vengeance? Did Kirk eject this guy because he hates him? That's basically the episode. Then we go into the courtroom.
That doesn't sound like Kirk to me. I think that he was falsely accused.
It doesn't sound like something Captain Kirk would do.
He would not do that.
So anyway, this episode is a non-science fiction episode in a science fiction universe. You would think that this would be one of them, like, a booger picker, and you'd be like, oh, this is so boring, God kill me.
What is a booger picker?
I don't know, I just came up with it. But
is that a genre?
But the thing is, that's the new genre I just invented.
They're under
Booger picker. From the people that brought you horror and science fiction, booger picker. It's funny to me because even as a kid, I really loved this episode. It wasn't dry. It moved. The fact that the beautiful woman that Kirk has had a relationship with in the past is actually, when she turns it on him and goes, because I'm supposed to make sure they hang you out to dry. Yeah. The man I
think
love.
She's bitter.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really sort of
prosecutor.
Yeah, I mean, it was it was the same thing with Finney, and it was his time to do the job, so he did it. She got the call, she got the letter or the this or the that or the email or whatever they have 300 years from now.
Yeah,
and it's like, I'm here to sink you. And there's a lot of stuff. There's like in the bar, the guys like Kirk comes in and Finney is supposedly dead and all that is like, how long is it going to take for you to get a new records officer?
Yeah,
and then Kirk. You can talk clearer than that. It's like, I might, but I think the point's already been made. Just these hateful, nasty, drunk Starfleet officers.
They're just a bunch of
it's like all of a sudden we're in the middle of a Western, it should be like a corral behind them. I'll kick your ass. I'll kick your ass.
You're not very dignified all of a sudden.
It's like they're thugs or something.
Innocent until proven guilty, right?
Yeah.
Well, Sorry and Brandy will do that to you.
Yeah. Turns them surly.
But it does have a lot of drama in it, and there is a lot of this thing like, okay, what is the pod? And it's like it doesn't matter. The guy went in it, and we're not sure why he died. They didn't have the budget to make a pod.
Right.
In the modern special effects version, they show a section where the pod would have ejected, and it's like there's some like hot fire or it looks molten around it or something.
A little burn etching on there.
Yeah.
And then there's like some sort of thing that looks like it's repairing it, like a repair vehicle that's bringing in some panels or something.
Right.
Yeah, this is one of those that does get that really coolness from the modern updates. The ship looks really neat with the hole in the side of it, and then you see the buildings on the planet's surface where Commodore Stone is, and you see people walking around inside the buildings, and it's like, it's so cool. Yeah. Which brings us to a person I really want to mention, Percy Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Who I think is awesome as Commodore Stone. I wish they had brought him back somehow, or maybe in other future episodes. But there was this guy with this incredible voice. He looked like a leader, and all the stuff that he was known for later, like you will not believe it when you see Jaws. I mean, he would do that and Ghostbusters and Heavy Metal. He was the voice in Heavy Metal, and he was wonderful. I wish they had him in there more.
Yeah. There's so many characters like that. We always talk about the fact that they put this casting on the show was so great, and I guess maybe the pool of actors that were just running around Hollywood in those days were so powerful. There was like you see these people on other shows, you see them on Mannix or whatever, and there's so many great faces and voices from those times.
Well, Elijah Cook Jr.
Yeah,
yes.
God. I mean, he's fantastic as
Blackula from Blackula.
Yeah.
I was in the theater with 500 screaming kids when that woman got off the gurney and starts going down the hallway. Every kid is shrieking. Elijah Cook Jr.'s there with his cut off hand with the hook, working at the morgue or whatever. Yeah. But he's great from the Bogart films and all that stuff. He's a terrific actor. And brings up
Maltese Falcon is so incredible in that.
Well, it's something about this show too. there's two things. One is the visualization of Kirk pushing the button, the tampering with evidence, and the other one is the fight about computers versus books, which we're in the middle of now.
Right.
I'm going to go with Cogley here on this one. I still think it's better to hold a book in your hand to read. I mean, the Kindles and stuff are great if you can do it. I mean, sometimes when I'm tired, I'll actually scan in a whole book and read it on a huge monitor for my bad eyesight. But I think that those are still very valid. And nowadays with the tampering of video, I mean, look at the insane ways that they can get Obama to say something he didn't say, or this, that, or the other.
The deep fake stuff is scary.
Deep stuff is crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, but we are talking 1966 mentality. It's like, well, that's not the way it happened. And like nowadays, if that happened, it goes, okay, so it's an edit. So what? Yeah. That's, somebody else's hand or you from another mission or something that has just been fed in. But at the time, it's sort of like, wow, how did they do that?
Right.
Yeah.
And they'd get a forensic hacker in there to find out who touched it, and they'd look at the headers and find out what the how much traffic has been on this software and who touched it and when it was modified. But back then, that was a pretty advanced idea that someday you would be able to manipulate data in a way that makes somebody look like they're doing something that they're not. It's basically like a Photoshop, deep fake kind of an idea where something is faked. And it's fascinating. It's fun to watch it in the show where they suddenly kind of realize this. And, spoilers, it's Kirk is innocent, but what's fun to watch about this is how it resolves, and they start realizing, what if Finney is not dead?
Which is kind of almost crazy at first, but it's that Sherlock Holmes thing of, do everything, examine everything, and then go and see what the last thing that you did that is not possible. Yeah. And,
take away everything that's impossible, and what's left is possible, is the thing. Yeah.
What you said. That's what
what's possible and not possible, the impossible.
That's not possible. But it's
I mean, technically the episode legally didn't make a lot of sense, but I went with it because I liked seeing the courtroom drama on a Star Trek episode. I mean, him being able to face his accuser, the computer, I don't know, seems a little weird.
And everybody's
that they would even let her prosecute him with her history with him, like she would have to recuse herself. That just seemed a little dicey.
Okay, Kathy, we're talking.
I'm just saying.
6 writing.
I'm just saying.
Well, the fact that we only got 54 minutes, Kathy, and then you got to tell the story.
The script is the cheapest part to write. Get the legal shit straight.
Yeah. But I liked it. Don't cost much.
I don't like it. But I really enjoyed the whole courtroom thing, but I went ahead and let him do it because who knows what courts will be like when you're doing it on a spaceship. Maybe it is a little dicier.
There is one thing I do want to quote. I'm thinking about putting on a shirt, and that's this. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I know. She's
yes, ma'am.
Her performance in that is so
James
bizarre.
T. Kirk.
Yeah.
She's like that girl that's yelling about the shark going in the estuary, and Jaws. There's a shark in the estuary. It's shark in the pond. I mean, it's like gotten somebody with a little bit of a better voice.
She was so scared she was strange. I can't get it out.
But yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. I'm looking at this, and this is just we got to have hard hitting melodrama. Like boom, Kirk's in trouble. Boom, even Percy Rodriguez is yelling at him. Carpenter Stone's yelling at him. Goes to Cogley. I'm an old timer. I'm it's like I'm right out of a Frank Capra movie. Yeah, and then as it goes along, and it's like I mean, I'm watching it now. And it's funny. Let's say that we were to refilm it right this minute with all those problems. 30, 50 years from now, people are going to be laughing at what we did.
Right.
Yeah.
There's always going to be that in the future. Oh my God, I can't believe it.
I know the future's so quaint.
Well, going back to Percy Rodriguez, I like that whole scene with, Commodore Stone and him, like before they do the trial, like, let's figure this out. Cause Kirk, you're respected. Let's just cop to it and we can kind of, work it out. I like that sort of camaraderie between the Starfleet upper echelon. I think that's kind of a nice moment, and that it was good that was written in before they actually go to the trial. So I didn't mind that the trial sort of short shrift and they sort of cut to the chase. It's okay, that's fine with me. And then the whole Finney stuff, I just like the interpersonal relationships on the Starbase. I thought that was really fun.
Yeah. And Finney's daughter coming in and
Yeah.
being angry with Kirk for killing her father, and
that first dress she wore was hot.
Yeah,
I mean,
oh my God.
that crepe paper. It looked like a school project, in the sort of the second graders.
Yeah,
I made a
out of
flower.
Christmas wrapping paper.
Yeah. We're back to Return of the Archons.
She looked like a unicorn.
A sailor outfit or a pinafore or whatever.
It was like something from a Simplicity part of his pattern. So,
it's like they almost they wanted her to actually be 12, but they got this full-grown woman. Well, I guess she's gonna have to wear it.
Yeah. Let's make this out of a shower curtain too. But you know what? I have to give so much respect to the props, wardrobe, set dressing, everything on these shows, because I've worked on shows where you have to make everything. You can't just buy off the shelf clothes for her to come in. She's a character that appears twice in it. We're going to need 2 different outfits for her, and they have to look futuristic, and they can't be, they can't draw too much attention. We don't want them to be sexy. We need them to be like what a teenager wears every day in the year 4 billion or whatever, And that stuff, I love seeing what they come up with in Star Trek, because they constantly come up with imaginative, interesting costumes over and over, and backgrounds and backdrops and props and set dressing. And to me, it's just, that's one of the funnest things for me when I watch the episodes, is looking at the details like that.
Oh yeah. The computer boxing or whatever. Of course, I'm watching it today on super high def on a huge screen.
Oh no.
And it's like, you can see them screws. Yeah. You can see where all the screws, and you can see the pattern in the wood. It's like, let's put that kind of
screws.
Very, very light blue over the whole thing. But you know what? I love it.
Yeah.
I
That's its charm.
Well, there's no way we would have seen it with conventional television sets. No. I don't even care if you had what was the largest TV set back in the 70s when we were watching it, probably
30 inch or something.
30 inch or something like that, regular definition at that time. You still wouldn't have seen it. No. So now I see it and I go, ooh, look at the wood grain on there on that, modern super futuristic piece of equipment, but it's still cool. I love it.
It was made to look like wood because people used to remember when there were forests. There aren't anymore.
They were simulating wood.
Are we doing a review for Silent Running or something here all of a sudden?
No, what's
you're gonna sing like Joan Baez for us, Kathy, please.
No, I can't do that.
Back when I worked in props, I used to have a prop workshop, and I used to have so much materials and people that I worked with, and we were always we were all nerds, and we were always making replicas of props from movies and shows that we loved and things. Yeah. And that computer box is one thing that I made that I still have it in my garage. And I made a real exact replica of that prop. And it was in the background in a lot of the shows that I worked on and in those times. And there's a bunch of other little homages like that we did in the prop realms.
Yeah. That's
fun. It was so fun. Always like making the props from Star Trek was always so fun because you could make them in exactly the same way they made them on the show. You basically cut them out of wood, sand it, glue it together with wood glue, and then paint the hell out of it, and those colors, those light grays, those sort of off gray with bright oranges and things like that. The colors were so cool, and a little bit of line tape on it. That's hardcore analog prop stuff.
Instant Star Trek.
Yeah, I deal with a lot of guys who are super hardcore Star Trek. They can tell you that a little jar that's in Dr. McCoy's office with no lid on it, sitting up there on the thing, that it was sold in Kmart in 1964. I'm not joking. These guys know.
I know those guys
to the insane amount, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
I am one of those.
I like
guys.
it too.
But I'd like to just I don't know if the whole house, but have a room that's built exactly like that. And having done those Star Trek set tours over here in Jacksonville, or right above Jacksonville, it's like you walk in and the noir lighting's going, and like this, if you go, okay, this is really freaking weird, but I absolutely love it.
That's really cool.
Let's talk about the actress Ariel Shaw from William Castle's Homicidal.
That's right. Yeah,
she's great. I like her in this. I mean, there's certain ladies of the Star Trek universe that are like, but I really liked her a lot. I thought she did a good job. Has everybody here seen Homicidal?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Joan Marshall, I think. Her name is.
Yeah. And she did a good job in that too. But I've always liked this character, and the delivery's really good and everything, you know. So
yeah, she's kind of a
great.
hardcore character in this, where she's not a no nonsense. She's not like one of those screaming women victim, you know.
Yeah, she's like one of those strong, capable women.
Yeah,
that still fall for Kirk every time.
Yeah,
already had.
But he's Kirk
for the second time.
Oh, Kathy, can I ask a sexist question here just for a second? All right.
Okay.
Now I need to know this. This is important.
Okay.
What's hotter on Kirk? The regular tan-looking sort of shirt, or that bedroom, wraparound thing, for his bad back?
No, the suit, the regular outfit.
Really?
Yeah.
I really thought that would be like just wow.
The wraparound's a little trying too hard.
Trying too hard. The scrambled eggs.
Yeah, and and also as they demonstrate in this, when you rip it, it looks extra good.
It always kind of just it has like Velcro on it or something.
Right.
I think we just learned something about Kathy.
See?
When it's torn.
When they tear it, which they always do, Kirk's always getting shit torn off his body. Then there you go.
Yeah.
I've got a totally fucked up tangent. Can I go there for 1 minute?
No, absolutely.
Is this more sexism?
No.
Okay.
So during the courtroom scene, there's the court reporter who at the beginning has to walk over and press the button to start the recording, correct? And then he does that twice. Yeah. Are you familiar with an actor by the name of Frank Adamo?
I've heard the name.
Yeah.
You know who that is, Burke?
Yeah.
I think that's him.
Oh.
Frank Adamo, it was Dick Van Dyke's personal assistant. And on the Dick Van Dyke shows, he was
in a bunch of them.
Brilliant characters, kind of this tall guy, and he had an interesting face. And
he was the Eddie Paskey of the Dick Van Dyke show.
Right.
He was always
okay.
He was the waiter
He was like 60 different characters.
Yeah.
And I think that's him, because I think they filmed it on the same set, didn't they? The same backlot. Dick Van Dyke.
I don't know where they filmed Dick Van Dyke. It would be.
Anyway, I slowed it down and watched it like 10 times. I said, that's him. He has his head down. He kind of gets off real quick. Anyway, how's that for weird? But
there was one guy that was wearing a kind of a dress looking thing. Almost looked like that later when they did that Next Generation formal attire, like when they were meeting dignitaries and stuff like that. They had almost like a man's robe that dropped down and is like a little effeminate looking for my taste. But the guy in the show today had one almost exactly like it. Was that the same guy? Is that what you're talking about? There was
I don't know. I can't remember what he was wearing. I just know he was in and out real quick, head low, almost in shadows, but he has a very interesting looking face. And so I think that's him.
I think, is he the guy that is kind of known for being in more episodes of television than any other actor?
So I think that's him. Yeah, he's
like
been
he was
tons and tons of things.
If you look at his, like episodes of the Dick Van Dyke show, it'll say like he was in 87 of them or something, and then he was Mary Tyler Moore show 50 times, and he was on. I think he's that guy. I'm not sure.
Well, I know he's Dick Van Dyke's personal assistant. That's why he was on the show. I don't know. But anyway, that's a personal side. Sorry, we got off tangent, but it was like one of those things. You try to watch these. You've seen these things 40, 50 times. You try to pick a little simple thing out when you're watching.
It's like what Burke said. When you're watching this to actually talk about it, you do find yourself going, I never noticed that before.
Right.
Yeah, you're paying attention to things that are.
Yeah, usually I'm there just going like, injecting myself,
And I was noticing too, like how they identify things so the audience will know, and the little pad that he's pushing the buttons, and you have the little alert, and then alert, and then jettison pod, just in case he wasn't sure, and they're all in a row, and I'm like, oh, that's what that button's for.
Well, it's very sort of the Batman belt. So he's got a million. It's one of those kind of things. Like
people have discussed that as an anomaly, and they've said, why is jettison pod the main button on the control panel on the captain's chair?
Why is it right underneath the alerts? What if you're trying to hit to turn the alert off and you hit jettison pod by accident?
It's like
even like when they're telling the computer to stop and they reach over, there's this giant toggle switch and they go like that. It's like really there's like 4 things. It makes me wonder if the computer's smart enough to know that, okay, I need to have this scenario set up for whoever's operating it at this time or whatever scenario. And
I'll
so,
buy that.
That's
totally
what
buy
people
that.
say as it changes. You
Then
know,
pay
the
me some
configuration
money.
changes,
Yeah.
the words change, the buttons. The buttons have different functions for different operations.
That's right.
Right now, we're doing something with the pod, so it goes bloop and it turns into this configuration.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times he hits that thing with his fist and he's like, engineering, and it's like that's his communicator, and then other times he's just randomly pressing buttons while he's watching something on the screen.
I'll tell you one thing that I really loved, and I was grateful to this in science fiction, was the second Battlestar Galactica television show with phones and giant knobs and everything else. Like, my attitude is like, you're in deep space, and if you've got a toggle switch, the chances of it not working are like so minimal, as opposed to like a computer, which could be rebooted, and there's subtleties to it and little micro parts to it and everything like that. And it's like, well, we found being in space that you need, that kind of thing.
The physicality of it.
It's also not hackable. I think the idea in the Battlestar Galactica was that the Cylons wouldn't be able to hack in because it's a
brilliant.
enclosed, analog, manual, wired system.
Yeah.
But the thing is, a lot of people agree with exactly what you said, the tactile feeling of a switch. Plus, there's the modular aspect of it. Like you said, if that switch fails, it's really easy to pull it out and weld it, like solder in a new switch, and they'd probably have a storeroom full of parts, and if a computer goes sour, you've got to bring in the IT crew and they have to shut everything down, and everybody's like, I'm offline, I can't get anything, and your whole system is ruined. But if it's just a switch, it's like, oh, we can fix that in like 4 seconds, sir. Click.
I mean, we're making an excuse for the show's look back then, because I remember the first time I was watching one of the very earliest episodes of Next Generation, right when it was brand new, and Will Wheaton's taking his fingers and going like that. And I'm like, what the hell's he doing? Is he drawing or something? It was even new to me at the time. But, I mean, things will go that direction. So.
Yeah. Some things will and some things won't. I don't know with interfaces if it's ever going to become more physical. I remember I do interfaces for shows, and when Minority Report came out, every producer I talked to said we want something like Minority Report where it's like all this business in air.
It was impressive.
And it's like a dance, and he can run over here and do that. And I remember thinking it looks cool in Minority Report. And Tom Cruise always does those movies where he's like the expert at the thing. He's like shaking cocktails or whatever. And so he's doing the computer screen.
I had to jump over there.
But you know what I mean? He's always like the best guy at the thing, and he's always the best guy at the computer, and he's like he's done this a million times. But when you think about it, it just wear you out to be doing, like, what if you're in a hurry and you're like, oh, I'm so tired, I have to reach.
Well, if you're built like Tom Cruise, I mean,
helps you stay in shape, get some cardio.
So.
And those transparent monitors where you're looking at something and you can see the room behind it through the monitor, that to me is like, that's not, I don't think that's going to work in the future.
Well, it's kind of like when you drive a Tesla and they just have just the screen.
Yeah.
And there's no, brakes or blinkers or whatever. Like there's no
Do you
levers.
drive a Tesla?
I do.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen the dashboard on one. I mean,
there's just a
like an
screen
iPad.
and that's it. So it's weird when it takes some getting used to like just have a computer screen. It's pretty weird. Well, once you get used to it, it's something. But sometimes I feel my brain kind of reverting. I'm like, oh, I need to turn down the volume on the radio. Wait, what do I do?
Where's the knob?
Wow. Okay.
It's very weird. So it is sort of a reworking of the brain. Even though we're doing computers all the time, it's still weird when you take something that's so ingrained in muscle memory in driving a car like for so many years, and then to have this whole new way of driving. It's just like, what?
Yeah. And that's what I think is kind of cool about, going back to the design of the computers and the things in Star Trek, is they made them so simple. They didn't have, there weren't even keyboards, Nobody in those days predicted that we would be using keyboards, which is weird. A lot of old science fiction movies who were trying to show us the future, they never got that. They never got that there would be a screen and a computer keyboard. It was always some other method of data entry. It would be like, computer, I would like to ask you a question, or you would type something in a keyboard and it would go click, 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 and lights would flash. And from the flashing lights, Mr. Spock is able to derive the answer. from the lights. And
Right.
or in the old days, it would be a piece of paper that would pop out, and you would pull the paper out and read the result.
Right.
But they didn't get that there was going to be a screen that would have your readout. There's a few screens, of course, on the bridge, that we see, but we never really see them using them too much. They use them like a slide projector sometimes.
Yeah.
But the computer in the courtroom is that classic idea of a prop that we don't know how it works, but the characters in the show somehow make it function and it works, which I like. I can sort of buy that,
Yeah.
As long as Majel Barrett's voice is there, that's all that matters.
That makes it sound important.
As far as I'm concerned.
Working.
Working. Yeah.
But going back to the episode, really, it's a good courtroom drama. It moves really quick, as Mark said.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing, it has like 4
it's very fun.
distinct sections to the episode, and it moves. And so, I remember when I originally saw it 100 years ago, I was so shocked that Finney was alive. I mean, I was like, oh my God. How
The Enterprise should have been mine.
Still isn't over.
Shut up, Finney.
I said, how can you be
Daughter's
friends with
listening
Kirk?
to you, pal.
Quit your bitching.
You
I was
brought
always-
her on board.
I was always skeptical with Kirk's friends, like, his old buddies were always like, I don't know if he would really be friends with this guy.
Yeah.
It was very odd with the actor.
Well, he looks like an alky. I mean, he looks just like he's got them red, saggy eyes and all that. I've seen the guy in other shows. He's a damn good actor.
Yeah.
But in this one, he's playing this haggard guy that's been hiding down in the lower decks for days.
Right.
And they had the whole weird heartbeat thing.
Yeah.
It was really strange.
Also,
we're going to turn off everyone's heartbeat except for one.
Well, white noise.
Yeah, but it was kind of a weird idea of like, this is how we're going to find him. We're going to turn
I
off.
know.
This
Well,
is
what
That's
else
actually
too?
a pretty
I thought it was
advanced
interesting,
idea.
but
I can
it's
see
weird.
Commodore Stone looking at Kirk and going, look, I don't know what the hell's going on with you, but I ain't in a good mood because just a few months ago, your science officer was up for a court martial too. So what the hell's going on your ship? I mean, there's a lot of court martials.
Kirk.
You seem to blame everything on the computer. What's up with that?
Yeah.
Well, going back to the end after they find out and Finney sort of tells them how to fix things. All of a sudden, we get a narration from Kirk. Now how many times has that happened? That it's not a captain's log. That felt like it was like, I think that there was some issues with the script and they sort of had to kind of like cram it together.
Get it done.
Just throwing some narration to sort of, get it done in the 50
What
minutes.
they should have done is when Cogley left and said, I'll be back and everything, they should have immediately brought that actress in and had them, okay, cut. Okay. Start the camera back up. Okay. You walk back in and then fit it in later where you see her there. But him saying that was sort of like, I noticed it too. It was a little bit like, okay, this is a last second. Real quick, let's explain this to people kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The whole chess thing, the chess thing being the thing that lets Spock know that the computer's messed up. It's a little far-fetched.
I like that though, where
I do too. I
That
like
he
it.
outsmarted it. Yeah.
I like it. I do. But I'm saying that's a 60s, but I'm running it through the 1960s filter where it's like, okay, hey, something's wrong with the computer. And I just proved it kind of thing. But it's still a little bit like, what does playing chess with it and having, have to do with Finney altering some tapes? But I mean,
somebody's tampered with the computer. The computer has been tampered with because I programmed it to play chess and I've just beaten it so many times. The best I should have been able to do is a draw, And in those days, what's cool is the idea of programming a computer to play chess was still science fiction. That was still like,
true.
That was like, maybe someday we can do it, but it was just a lot of people in those early days of computers were saying, I don't think it'll ever be possible to program a computer to play chess because there's just too many variables.
Do you ever remember that brown original chess board that came out that could play? I mean, I don't remember what it was called, but it was big news.
Yes.
That they actually had something that could do that.
Yeah, I remember it.
One thing. Elisha Cook Jr. steals Kirk's thunder in this show. He gets the Shatner speech. Did you notice?
Yeah.
The man fading in the shadow of the machine. I demand it. And Kirk's just sitting there like, that should be my line, like with these twinkles in his eyes, Finally, somebody got to out Shatner until Doomsday Machine came along.
True.
Yeah, but he's his barrister, so he gets to do that kind of stuff.
His closing statements.
He did a good job. I mean, it's funny too because I think his speeches in this are still relevant.
Yeah.
They are.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like,
Supposedly
it's
he
like
had a lot of problems memorizing those lines, and they had to do a lot of cutaways and a lot of stuff because he just couldn't remember the long speech.
Cogley would be the kind of person that if he had kids, he'd be like, "You guys get outside, go outside and play."
Yeah.
Well, in real life, Elisha Cook Jr. was a real recluse. You know, he didn't get into the Hollywood scene or anything.
Oh,
And evidently he lived in a cabin like way out of town, and he had a manager who would get him gigs and call him up and say, "Hey, I got a gig for you." And he would show up, learn his lines. I think at that point he wasn't really having to do auditions. Or maybe would do a test or something, but
Sure.
he would come, he'd show up and he would do his part, and then it would be like, not coming to the rap party or anything. Bye, and he
Back
would
to the
take off
cabin.
and disappear again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a cool life.
Interesting.
But
He,
it's a great episode.
Yeah, like in the Night Stalker.
Yeah, it was really fun.
I was rewatching the Night Stalker movie again the other day. Elisha Cook Jr. pops up for a few minutes. He's great. He's a wonderful actor. Sure.
He's all over the place. It's like people are always we're talking about, film noir. It's like Elisha Cook Jr. is just in every film noir movie.
Yeah.
He plays that character. He plays.
Yeah.
It's true.
Very good.
But Court Martial, it's a winner. It's a
Yeah.
Do we want to do
Complete winner.
anomalies and commendations?
Yes.
Oh.
Should I start?
Yes.
Okay. Commendations are the usual. I mean, it's like it's a very well written story, very paced really well. I like that it's not there's specifically no space action. Mark mentioned at the beginning that it's a non-science fiction story set in a science fiction setting, and it's a courtroom drama, but the science fiction part comes in with the fact that the computer's been tampered with, and in those days we didn't have computers in our homes, so that was a futuristic kind of a thing. But the idea of making the story out of that, I mean, if you're thinking about the idea of writing an episode of Star Trek in the 60s, back when this was written, and you wanted to do a courtroom drama, and what would be the thing that you're fighting about here would be something, you would imagine it would be something else in the context of Star Trek, but they did it on a kind of a small scale. It was like a simple press of a button. And I thought that was pretty cool, where it was, when did he press the button? And it was a microscopic little thing, it was before the red alert or after the red alert, and I like that idea where they took something that was relatively insignificant seeming, and it turned into something that killed somebody, and then it turned into something that somebody else did to try to frame Kirk. So that's my commendation, is the coolness of the story, just the general idea of this courtroom drama being something that not only proved Kirk innocent, but it also had another level to it that revealed that this guy was trying to frame Kirk for murdering him. It's kind of cool.
Nice twist.
I like stuff like that.
Yep.
How about your anomaly?
Anomalies, I don't know. This one doesn't really have a whole lot of anomalies. I think I can't think of any anomalies right now in this episode, except for the push button that says jettison pod right there where his elbow goes on the armrest. But,
next to the green light, which makes you want to hit it.
Yeah. Oh crap! I just ejected the pod.
Oh, wrong button.
But I just ejected jettisoned the pod again. I keep doing that. But
stop hitting jettison the pod.
I can't help it.
Who designed this?
I got to put my elbow somewhere, for God's sake.
We lost another pod.
Yeah.
How about you, Mark? Do you have any ups and downs for this one?
Like Burke, I think this is just great drama. It is there's enough science fiction to still call it a science fiction show. But it's funny because we moved so far along technically that you can now look at it and go, oh, wow. But given when it was made, it's wonderful. Yeah. My only gripe with it at all is when they go, stop the frame and move forward on the panel, and all of a sudden it's a shot from the back.
Right.
Oh.
The hand is from like in the show when we're seeing it like real far away, his hand's like this, and then when they show it, it's the backside. And I'm like, wait,
Right.
that's one hell of a. So you got that 3D computer mapping going on,
Impressive.
analyze the atmosphere. And
Maybe the
everything.
Telosians
Which
were
would
helping.
actually, which
The Telosians.
which is funny because given modern science and everything like that, and what the future is going to hold, that actually is the answer. I'm actually giving the answer back to that, but back then they wouldn't have known it.
Right.
It's like maybe something doesn't photograph or register, the way a photograph does in modern times.
Yeah.
But in a way, it actually sends out like a sonar thing that photographs from a billion points of view all at
Different
the
angles.
same moment.
You can
So I
pick
just
whatever
answered
angle.
my question. So there is no problem with this show.
So
and
it's
not even the
perfect.
heartbeat thing that Kathy's complaining about.
I didn't
actually-
really complain. I just thought it was weird.
Case closed.
Actually,
That was Mark's
idea-
closing statement.
We're in the shadow of the machine, people. telling you.
I have to defend that heartbeat thing, even though the prop is
I like
clearly
it.
just a Radio Shack.
It's just
Radio
like a
Shack
microphone.
It's an old mic.
But
But know it
you
all.
twist the bottom of it. But
No,
the
it's
idea-
camouflage. No one will know what it is.
It's actually very smart. The way he said he's using white noise to eliminate certain heartbeats. That is actually the technology used in noise canceling headphones. It's a frequency that if there's noise, like this is the noise outside of the headphones, the headphones actually listen to that noise and create a counter noise that is the opposite of
I've
it.
heard of that. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it sounds like a white noise. If you were to
Okay.
isolate the signal that your noise canceling headphones make, it would sound like shh. And what it's doing is creating a frequency that counters the frequency of the noise on the outside.
I've heard
so
of
it
that.
cancels
yeah.
it out. So the idea back in the 60s that they were talking about that, they were following current research and things that were happening in MIT or wherever they were studying this about noise canceling, and they took it to a weird place, but it was like, yeah, I mean, saying that implies that they're following the news of the times and the current cutting edge stuff. So that's a commendation.
That's a
That
good
makes
one.
me want to go play the record AC/DC for Kathy. AC/DC Shot Down in Flames.
I want to clarify. I didn't hate it. It was just a weird idea.
No, you said, "Hey, back up the tape." She hated it.
I
Don't let her
said
alter that tape.
it was
Rewind
kind
the
of
tape, Your Honor.
weird how they had the heartbeat thing was weird.
It's a little weird.
So
Yeah,
as a kid, I went, "That's stupid."
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a microphone.
That's stupid.
Well, I'll say that I love
Oh.
Elijah Cook Jr., Percy Rodriguez. I think the
Yeah, I
guest
agree.
starring are top notch. Joan
And the
Marshall
lady,
also,
Joan
Yeah.
Marshall is
fantastic.
very good.
Casting is
Uh,
good on the show.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
good. I mean, my anomaly was just going back to that weird narration at the end. I think that's just sort of a kind of like a glued on part of the script. Like we got to wrap this up in 2 minutes. Either you do a captain's log or you don't do it and you figure it out.
Right.
I don't know if there's other narration, other episodes, maybe there are, but that just stuck out to me like, oh, they're just trying to clean this up. And all of a sudden Kirk is narrating the show.
Yeah, it's funny.
weird.
I remember I was reading like a Marvel comic when I was a kid, and you could tell that they were running out of space for the amount of pages that they had. So all of the boxes got real tiny.
Yeah.
It was Jack Kirby too. It was a real
Yeah.
tragedy, but as it got smaller and smaller, it was a Hulk, an early issue of the Hulk, and it was like the box. And finally, when they showed the destruction of like this major complex, it's like the windows like that big,
Yeah.
and it was
And
like,
it's one
and
of
then it's
those-
at the end,
One of those great
But-
Kirby silhouettes with no background.
Yeah.
You would have just these silhouettes of people fighting or whatever in a little tiny box like that, and then all of it was text or something.
Yeah, but Mark, I mean, when you said that today, because we were really observing this episode, I said, boy, that really is kind of just shoved in there because they don't have time to show Cogley bringing back the daughter because they got to show Kirk being Mr. Cool. You know?
Right.
Maybe they lost to Dave shooting. And they're like, we'll just say something about it later.
The girl went off on a bender and they couldn't find her, so they couldn't.
They lost her. Oh well, we'll just write something.
She's a Patty Duke wannabe. So
Yeah, kind of looked like a Patty
That's a
Duke.
great, Kathy, your anomaly, of course, is the heartbeat. You know.
No.
Just kidding. I'm
You know, again,
kidding.
I don't really have a ton of anomalies. I mean, the anomalies are just picky stuff. Like the legal stuff could have been maybe worked out a little better, but it still didn't ruin it at all. I thought it was totally fun escapism. I like the whole legal drama aspect of it. I love Joan. Is it Joan Marshall?
Yes. Yeah.
She was amazing.
Good.
I loved her in it because I liked that she came in and you thought, oh, here comes one of these Kirk women, and then she totally becomes like this opponent who's not an opponent but is. I thought that was kind of a cool, complex, kind of psychosexual drama going on there. And
But
then,
at the
what's
end,
she gonna
though,
do to him at
guys
the end?
But at the end, like she's on the, when the show's wrapping up, doesn't she say something like, "Is it okay if a lowly whatever kisses the captain on the bridge?"
Did you ever see the blooper reel with her where she goes,
Yes.
"Is it okay for me to kiss the star of a ship's captain?"
Yeah.
And Shatner goes, like this, and he grabs her and he really just starts, and he crushes her to him, and it's like everybody on the set's laughing. They seem to be having a good time.
I guess so.
All those Star Trek blooper reels are William Shatner making out with some chick.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ridiculous. It's like,
But I like I appreciate when they have a woman on there who's not just the prop that is going to be the comedy relief for Kirk. That it sort of starts that way, and then they kind of go, oh, she's more than that. So I thought that was very fun. But I really liked this episode.
They did actually do that a lot on the show, which is something that even for the times it wasn't always perfect, but they did have women who had careers and they were good at their job and respected, and that's something that still there's little cracks in it here and there, of course, because of when it was filmed and who was filming it. But I think one thing that it, for the times, I think it was surprisingly good with the roles for women and people of color, and
I agree.
it was groundbreaking in that way.
Yeah, they were
sure.
pretty good about it. So
All right.
yeah, I like this one way better than the next one we're gonna talk about.
What's the next one?
Return of the Archons,
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
But after that, it's Space Seed.
Space Seed. That's a good
Yes. Then we'll go to
one.
that.
So, you could actually make a movie out of that idea.
That's right.
Good. All right. Well, that was fun.
All
Mark,
right.
thank you very much for wearing your Famous Monsters shirt. That's
Love
really
it.
Yeah, that's.
Oh,
Can you
yeah,
stand up so we
right.
can see the whole thing?
Stand up, take a turn.
It's the
Oh,
Werewolf of
uh,
London, right?
Werewolves of London.
Ow.
Now we gotta
Yeah.
pay for that. Thanks.
Oh yeah.
I'm friends with Cortland Hull. He's related to Henry Hull, who played him. If you ever
Really?
looked at
that's
really
cool.
old, if you looked at really old issues of Famous Monsters, Cortland was in there a lot over at
Yeah.
Forey's place.
Nice.
Remember that.
But yeah, I love these
Very
shirts.
cool.
awesome.
Thank you so much.
We'll have you on again for
Thanks.
sure.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. It's fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, hopefully
Okay.
you're
See you
having
next
fun.
time.
Hopefully,
Yeah, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on our YouTube channel.
That's right.
Even if
You
you're-
too, Mark.
Yeah, you too, Mark.
So I
Yeah,
go
like.
up and just hit the button.
Like
You
us.
have to mash it.
Please
Whack
like
them
it.
all.
Mash it.
A button. There's a button there.
Okay.
All right.
Another one down. Yay. It was fun.
Bye, everybody.
Mr. Sulu, take us out. This is the Cinemondo Star Trek podcast, and we're warping out.
Don't lean on that button.
Bonk. Oops, I jettisoned the pod.
Oh, damn it. There goes another pod.
Is that like a Tide Pod? One of them things.
Those things are
Really?
Oh, God.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Doodles.